really seriously thought about. Now the alternative from our point of view, what we see is that because on one side the climate change is catching up, they say that if at all there is a third world war, it will be for water. That is the saying which is going on. So there's going to be severe water scarcity. Our water table is going down very terribly, we know that. But on one side, we see that we don't get enough rainfall on time. Not that we don't get rainfall, we don't get enough rainfall on time. So all these things are affecting the production. That is the current pattern of production what we have, particularly focused on the cereals of paddy and wheat. Paddy and wheat is only seen as the only thing which we are eating. And even our PDS, public distribution system, has only paddy and wheat distribution. They don't distribute any other small cereals, like whether it is kambu or ragi or cholam or all those things. But to combat the impact of climate crisis and also to combat the impact of globalization, the reason why I am putting these two things together, in globalization, according to new economic policy, we have to open our market. So definitely the outside food is really coming inside. We don't have any control over that. And so because of that, some of the food items are really sold very cheaper than the production cost in India. So to combat all these things, the one way out in agriculture is to focus on millet cultivation. If we focus on, if there is a policy decision, the recent Agriculture Council meeting where Sonia is the chairperson, they have recommended that millet to be included in the public distribution system. It's a very good thing. But how will you include millet in public distribution system if you don't have enough production? If people are not producing millet and if people are not willing to take in millet, so there will not be a market for that. So because of the advocacy, because of the campaign, because of the pressure from so many activists from all over India, the committee has recommended millet to be included under the public distribution system, especially under this new Food Security Act which is going to be passed by the Parliament. Having said that, now how do we ensure that the millet is cultivated? One, we have to have a serious policy change. The focus have to shift from the water-oriented, pesticide-oriented, fertilizer-oriented production, hybrid production of paddy and wheat to organically, naturally produced millet, which needs 1/100th of the water we are using for paddy and even less than what we use for wheat, and it requires no fertilizer or it requires no pesticides. We can do it with natural fertilizers and natural pesticides. And the other important thing is the quality of land. Even if the quality of the land is very, 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 very bad, if it is stony, all those things, still millet grows there. And it needs less rain, it doesn't need fertilizer, it doesn't need pesticide. But who is going to eat all these coarse cereals? Because in our generation, I am talking about our generation, your generation is even worse. Even our generation is used eating fine cereals, white, refined rice. Some people are not even happy with the rice what they get in ration. They will take it to the miller and repolish it again to make sure that it is white in color. Whether they have nutrition or not, people are not bothered. So that is something. So that's the kind of practice we have. So now if the coarse millet comes into our table, how many children? So because there are generations we have been eating this fine, refined rice. How many children will be willing to eat? That is secondary actually. Primarily, how many mothers will be willing to cook? Because it's a laborious process. There is a mindset in us So many things have contributed to us. Our media, so many things have contributed. Now we have to break all these links. So as policy makers, there is a great need to think about the future of our country and the future of our generation, of our citizen, where you have to have a healthy citizen who will take nutritious food and will have a better lifestyle. So all these things means that there has to be a policy change. Policy change in agriculture. Number one, which respects the producer. Number two, which also respects the consumer. So in that way, there has to be a very serious policy change in that. Now, that this is in one way, this would in one way circumvent the agreement that we have got into with World Trade Organization. Although the World Trade Organization agreement actually, because there is no conclusive talks and still it is not pinned down, it is, at least to my knowledge, means what I am saying is, at least as a person, as a citizen who has been following all these WTO trade talks from 1995 to 2005, hope that by 2005, 1st January, no agreement is reached. So no agreement, so WTO is not in existence. It was our hope, but it didn't happen. Still, there is all pressure from the world, other global countries on India to get into a final agreement. So that is the situation. So in WTO, according to the agreement on agriculture, we are forced to produce for the world market. So the world market production is only centered around cash crop production. That is, which is export oriented, and this production has to compete with the production in other countries. So in order to circumvent that, on one side, if you try to have a change in our agriculture policy, because we can show all these reasons that our mass, that is 60% of our Indian mass is dependent on that. So there has to be policy catering to the needs of that to ensure that 60% of the population's livelihood is strengthened. The reason why I say is, the other day, Prime Minister as well as the Finance Minister was talking about agriculture state. He said, too many people are involved in agriculture. So there is a need for these people to get out of agriculture. If they get out of agriculture, where will they go? Where is the alternative? What is the alternative government showing? That's a big question mark which is not answered yet. But according to our Prime Minister, the Prime Minister says 15% of the people is sufficient in agriculture sector, which means 45% of people are going to be silently displaced from agriculture sector. And our country is very busy buying lands in Africa and in Latin American countries, in Eastern European countries. They say they are going to do contract farming there and import food to India. Suppose as today India decided, because the onion price went up, India decided that all export of onion is banned. So you go and do the production there in that country, and if that country decides all food production export is banned, so what will India do? Now, as an ordinary person who is just following what is happening in the country, these are the questions which I have. But I don't know, people like you who are going to be the future policy makers have to think maybe in a different angle and get a solution for it. Now the state like Kerala, states like Kerala has decided that they have brought in a new law where they have banned conversion of agricultural land for any other use. So now you cannot convert, though it was late, better late than never. So now they say that you cannot convert any of the agricultural land into any, whether it is as residential thing or industrial purpose or anything. Our government, the Tamil Nadu government also, I think yesterday, they have said that a land which is being left unused for 10 years can be converted for industrial purpose. Again, that is a question. So this is, I feel, as a union, Indian Union, we don't have similar practices. Even the neighboring states do not have similar practices. On one side, we are saying, oh, there is a lot of problem in agriculture and things like that. On the other side, to strengthen this agriculture, the government has introduced the NREGA scheme. NREGA supposed to provide 100 days work for the so-called laborers. But provision of this labor is affecting the agriculture sector. That is what the farmers say. On one side, there is introduction of mechanization is there. People left and right, people have got little larger land stretch, are using machines to harvest, to do all the work. Now we have machines for everything. On the other side, the small and marginal farmers do not get enough labor. So actually, as our Prime Minister said very cleverly, they have all the programs to marginalize the small and marginal farmers out of agriculture. So they will get out of agriculture. Anyway, it is not beneficial for them, so they will get out of agriculture, and then these lands will be available for contract farming or whatever it is. There is all these factors, all these programs, government programs have to be taken into consideration when you are thinking about all these things. Now today the Kerala government has introduced a rice machine. Kerala government just looked around and suddenly they woke up saying that Kerala is not producing enough. Kerala is borrowing. If Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra decides not to sell anything to Kerala, Kerala will starve to death. So Kerala government decided to have a rice machine, and all the schools, all colleges where there are open space, they are cultivating rice. I see this as positive, not because there is going to be production, but because among the youth, among the students, the need for work is going to be inculcated, and they really understand that the paddy, how difficult it is to produce this, and there will be a respect for farmers. Today, if you ask any farmer's children, even my child,